This is the Louie T Network.
See, first come the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then my team was 6-10, and we ain't smell a playoffs. Yeah, I seen the Super Bowl, but I heard they just play balls. A lot of teams had injuries. Sam Bradford had to take off. Go hard in the offseason, but you don't know the half. Before you know, we gon' look up, and we ready for the draft. They dressed up in that suit top, and I don't know how to act. They waiting, so patient, so they can put on that hat. Who else could it be? But your man Luke. Okay, so when she asks you where you at, you tell her you in the lab room. Who else could it be? Who? But your man Luke. Okay, so when she asks where you was at, you can tell her you was in the lab room. Yeah.
So we jump into part 2 of the Hurry Up Offense for week number 12. We start in Seattle, man. What a game this was. And I was really looking forward to the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers because these are two teams that I don't think anybody wants any part of in either one of their conferences. You're talking about two teams right now hovering around 500, been dealing with some injuries. And in the case of the Seahawks, they're really trying to find their identity. Who are these guys? Because we don't know them as we've come accustomed to. This isn't the same Seattle Seahawks that we've seen over the last 3 seasons or so. So they're trying to figure out who they are, establish an identity. No Marshawn Lynch. Thomas Rawls has stepped in and been outstanding for them, but they're not the same team. In the case of the Steelers, they just can't get healthy and stay healthy. They've been dealing with a myriad of injuries. But this is a team at 6-5 in Pittsburgh that you don't want any part of in the AFC because they can score with the best of them. And if this defense ever can figure it out, they're going to be a scary team. Same thing in Seattle. You don't know who they are, but you know you don't want any part of them. They are a battle-tested team, and they can get the job done come January and even February. So these are two scary teams. I wanted to see how they matched up against one another. Let's jump into this game. Big Ten is special. First thing I noticed in this game, this guy is special. Now, you got to take the good with the bad with Big Ten. He ran the wrong route, and he kind of got upset, and the coaches were trying to talk to him. Big Ben had to calm him down. You want this guy mentally involved in the game because when he is locked in, he's one of the most dynamic players in the entire National Football League. He drops a deep ball, so he giveth, he taketh away, but the guy is so dynamic. Had 2 big deep balls that he did catch, and he had a touchdown on a run. This guy is dynamic. He has another gear. At 6'4", you don't expect him to be as fast as he is, but he has another gear that when he turns it up, he can run by defenders. You saw it on that end around where he gets the football, doesn't look like he's going to be able to make it to the outside, shakes the defender, and then wins. The defenders had angles, he beats the angles, gets to the outside, gets in the end zone. Magnificent run. Big Ten is a difference maker, and I talked about him at the beginning of the season when he was suspended. I said, if this guy comes back and is the player that I know he can be, this offense will change because he's so dynamic, and you saw that in this game. Big Ben is still one of the best improv quarterbacks in the league. He amazes me, okay? It really doesn't matter what the situation is. That throw to Marcus Wheaton outside the pocket, he looks behind him to make sure there's nobody in the rearview mirror coming after him, and then he takes it and he rips it, okay? I mean, he checks the blinders to make sure nobody's coming, and then he just lets it go and uncorks it about 55 yards on the money to a streaking Marcus Wheaton, who then takes the football and gets into the end zone. He had a magnificent day. Did Marcus Wheaton a career day at that, 9 catches, 201 yards. So there were a lot of good things that the Steelers did in this ball game. But Ben Roethlisberger continues to impress me and wow me with his ability to make something out of nothing. I think he might be the best schoolyard improv quarterback we've ever seen. I mean, when he gets out of the pocket, much like Aaron Rodgers, something big is about to happen. And his ability to throw on the run is uncanny, and that throw to Marcus Wheaton was a dime, and it was ridiculous. And I think, again, we become so spoiled and accustomed to seeing him do it that we don't recognize his greatness. That is not easy to do. That is a skill. It is an art that few master in this league, and he is one of the best at it. Big Ben continues to stroke that football down the field on the move. Mike Tomlin, I love that guy, and I love his approach. And he continues to roll the dice on 2-point conversions. Did it early in this ball game. and it didn't backfire. They were able to convert, and he's just using the percentages. But I love the fact that, and I love his mentality. I love the fact that he goes and he says, hey, look, man, we're not going to live in the fear of going for these 2-point conversions. We're going to live in the hope of getting these 2-point conversions. And so I just love his mentality, man. He's always got something smart to say, and not in a condescending way. He's just a really intellectual guy, and everything he does is calculated, and it is very measured. And I love Mike Tomlin. And another guy that has impressed me this year is D'Angelo Williams. You could not have seen this coming, okay? This is a resurgence unlike we've ever seen at the running back position. And I hate to call it a resurgence because that would imply that he went somewhere in terms of his production and his play, but he wasn't the same guy in Carolina at the end of his career there. He wasn't getting the same amount of touches. He wasn't healthy enough. This D'Angelo Williams reminds us of the D'Angelo Williams we saw 4 or 5 years ago in Carolina when he and Jonathan Stewart both rushed for over 1,000 yards, and they were double trouble, and they were doing the matrix. And this is the type of back that can change a ball game. And we talked about Le'Veon Bell and his absence and what it was going to mean to the Steelers offense. Well, D'Angelo Williams has filled in as well as you could ask a backup running back to come in and fill in the shoes of a guy like Le'Veon Bell. His patience in this game, the burst is still there. There's an accelerator that he hits where he takes it. There's a play later on in the ball game, and I want to say it's either a screen or it's a draw or it's a counter where he actually bounces it to the outside. Either way, he gets to the outside, and then he just starts running past defenders, and they're able to get him out of bounds, but not after he picks up 25 yards or so. He's, to me, a dynamic playmaker for the Steelers offense, and I just thought he was tremendous in this game. His ability to break tackles, yards after contact, he can catch the football. I just thought he was tremendous in this game, and he has been tremendous for the Steelers all year long. And I don't think they knew what they were getting when they went out and got him in the offseason. They're getting way more than they bargained for with D'Angelo Williams. Marcus Wheaton, I already stated this before, but he just had a whale of a ball game, a career high, 9 catches for 210 yards, or 1 yard, excuse me. I just thought he was the difference maker in this game and kept the Steelers alive. He made play after play after play, and he's the forgotten man in this offense. I mean, you look around and you know what Tones is about. You know that Heath Miller is a sticks moving machine, and in the red zone he becomes that much bigger of a target. We know about Big Ten, and I talked about him already, and the need for the Steelers to get him the football, and they did in this game. Marcus Wheaton becomes the guy that is an afterthought. You don't think about him in this offense, but he can get you too, and he got the Seahawks in this football game. But at the end of the day, for all of the good that the offense did in this football game, and Ben did have a couple of turnovers and interceptions and whatnot, and set up some short fields. Matter of fact, 3 interceptions in this game for the Steelers, turning into 21 points, 3 touchdowns for the Seahawks. So they did not do their defense any favors, did the Steelers offense, and even the special teams. But still, the defense is a major liability. That's where this team is going to struggle. We know offensively they can score with the best of them. They can put up 40 in the blink of an eye. They can put up 37 with no problem, with ease. It's the defense's ability to stop the other team from matching them or surpassing them in that game that scares me, and that's, to me, right now, the problem with this Steelers team. Part of the reason why they're 6-5 on the season is because the inability of this defense to play consistent on this season has been a big, major reason why the Steelers are not higher up in the food chain in the AFC, of course, along with injuries. But let's jump into what the Seahawks were able to do in this game. I thought Russell Wilson was sharp, the sharpest we've seen him all season long, and sometimes I think we overlook Russell Wilson. I know I'm guilty of it because he's a system quarterback. He's in the perfect system. They don't ask him to do a lot. They run the football. They play. Well, they're not playing elite defense anymore. Okay, that used to be the thing. Well, they run the football. They play elite defense, and he just has to not mess it up. He just has to drive the car and put it on autopilot, and they can fly him all across the world and win games everywhere. It doesn't matter. They're not doing that anymore. This defense is not the same. I'll talk about that later on, but he had to be magnificent in this game for them to win. 5 touchdown passes, over 300 yards. We don't see that from Russell Wilson very often, but he is very capable of doing that, and he showed you why he commanded that kind of money in the offseason and got it He was outstanding in this game, and without his performance, they don't win this football game. And the problem is, they're probably going to need him to do this more often. I don't know if he's capable of doing that on a consistent basis, but he did it in this game, and it was good enough for them to get the victory. Jimmy Graham was huge, and I talked about him needing to be a bigger part of this offense. When he's a big part of this offense, this team is different offensively. Well, he was a huge part of this offense in this game. Problem is, this will be his last game this season as he tore his patella tendon. Ugly injury in the end zone, trying to adjust on a deep ball, and so he's going to be gone, and that's going to be a huge loss for this Seahawks offense that was just starting to hit their stride, I felt, on the offensive side of football. He was starting to get integrated to this offense and get comfortable, and now he's gone just like that. Guys are going to have to step up like the receivers did in this game. They're going to need more production out of those guys with the loss of Jimmy Graham. Tyler Lockett continues to be a huge factor in Seattle. I love the maturation of this rookie. At first, he was just a guy that you could rely on special teams and did some big things for them early in the season in that regard. Now he's starting to become more of a wide receiver, and he did that at K-State, was a big part of their offense as a receiver at K-State. Now he's starting to do that for the Seahawks, and so I love to see him mature in this offense, and they're going to continue to utilize him because he is a weapon for the Seahawks offense. Seattle was very opportunistic, and that's been the mark and the calling card of this defense since they've become a juggernaut in the NFC Conference, is their ability to force turnovers and take those turnovers and turn them into points. They did that in this game. Ben had 2 interceptions. Both of those turned into Seattle Seahawks touchdowns, and they also were able to pick off the Steelers on a fake punt attempt, fake field goal, fake punt, and it was one or the other. And they were able to pick that off and get great field position, and that ended up turning into a Seahawks touchdown as well. So 3 interceptions, 3 touchdowns. That's what good football teams do. They make teams pay for their mistakes. Seahawks made them pay in the highest regard with touchdowns. Huge day for the Seahawks receivers. We know about Doug Baldwin's huge day, 3 touchdowns, including that 80-yard game-clinching score. He had a tremendous day, and they need more from Doug Baldwin. I don't think he's had one of his better years this season, but the best could be yet to come. If this is any indication of what's coming down the pipeline, Seahawks fans should feel really good about what's coming down, what's in store for them with Doug Baldwin moving forward. You also got a touchdown out of Jermaine Kearse, and he had a big drop early in the game. Good to see him bounce back. And I talked about Lockett. He also stepped up. So receivers starting to get involved, and this is a good omen, hopefully, for the Seahawks moving forward. Because again, like I just said, let's talk about it. This defense is not the same. Okay, I've talked about teams not respecting the Seattle Seahawks home field advantage any longer. They're not afraid of it. They can go in and win. Teams feel confident. And it's still a tough place to play, don't get me wrong. But look, Ben Roethlisberger, before him getting injured, leaving the game with concussion-like symptoms, he had 450 yards passing on this Seattle Seahawks defense. I've seen things this season that I'm not accustomed to. Busted coverages, guys catching deep balls. How many deep balls were given up in this game alone? Okay, whether it was Big Ten, Martavis Bryant, or Marcus Wheaton, guys were getting deep behind this defense, making plays. That didn't used to happen, okay? The Seahawks used to do a great job of being deeper than the deepest. They don't do that anymore. Guys get behind them and make big plays on this defense. We've seen it all season long, whether it's Carolina, whether it's Cincinnati, whether it's this game. They've given up big plays this season in the passing game. They miss tackles. That's one thing that I used to always brag about with this Seattle Seahawks defense. They don't miss tackles. They are sure, they are as sure a tackling team as you're going to find in this league. Well, that's not the case anymore. They don't tackle as well as they used to. I saw D'Angelo Williams break at least 4 or 5 tackles throughout the course of this game and get first downs where it looked like he was going to be stopped short of the sticks. Guys were making plays after the catch, and that didn't used to happen against this Seahawks defense. They're not the same. They're not coming back. They benched Kerry Williams in favor of another cornerback. It doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter. This defense is not the same. People aren't afraid of Richard Sherman anymore. And he got his first interception of the season on an overthrow. It's just a situation where this defense, you have to face it, they're not going to shut teams down anymore. They have to outscore teams. I don't know if they can throw for 5 touchdowns. I don't know if they can score 39 points. Maybe when Marshawn Lynch comes back and they can kind of find a little bit of a better balance, because Didn't get the same production out of Thomas Rawls in this game, but they were able to throw it with some great consistency and efficiency in this game, and that's why they were able to win 39-30. It was a great game. It was a shootout, and I thought both teams executed well on the offensive side of football, but neither one of these two defenses scared anyone, and I think that, to me, is the more alarming thing for the Seahawks, because I don't know if they're built. The Steelers are built to score, okay? I don't know if the Seahawks are built to score 35, 37, 32, 38 on a weekly basis. But if they're going to play offenses like this, and we know once you get to the postseason, you get the best of the best. I don't know if they're primed and geared and ready to have to do what they did in this game on a consistent basis. But they get the win. It was a beautiful ball game. I had a lot of fun watching it. 39-30 is your final score. Seahawks get it done at home. Both teams leave this game at 6-5. For the Steelers, the bigger issue is Ben Roethlisberger's health. He was entered into the concussion protocol. We'll see if he's able to play against Indy, because now these games start to matter big time, and they need Ben Roethlisberger. That's part of the reason why they haven't been consistent on the season, is his health. They need him back. For the Seahawks, big win. Let's see if they can continue to try to solidify themselves as a postseason participant in the NFC Conference. Minnesota at Atlanta. I was looking forward to this game as well. Let's start with the Vikings in this game. I thought they did a really good job of sticking with the run and establishing the run. Everyone talked about the Falcons' ability to stop the run and them being #1 in the league statistically against the run. Well, the Vikings didn't care anything about that. Even though every run wasn't going for 3 or 5 or 7, they stuck with it. There were some negatives. There were some 1-yard losses in there. There were some no gains. But they stuck with the run, and that's their identity. And that's part of the reason why I love the Vikings. They know who they are. They don't try to be something that they're not. Then you're not going to see the Vikings score 37 points. You're not going to see the Vikings chucking the football all around the field. Teddy Bridgewater is not going to throw it 40 times. They know who they are. They have an identity. They stick with it. They run the football. They ask Teddy Bridgewater to manage the game. And on the defensive side of the football, they're going to make plays, and they're going to be as consistent as consistency gets. They're going to stop you from having a great running day, even though the Falcons had some big runs in this game. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But they're going to stop you. They're not going to blitz a lot, but when they do, they're going to be effective. They're going to play some outstanding coverage. They did that in this game. And the Vikings are a team that you don't want it with in December, because they're going to run the football. It's about to get cold outside. They're going to run the football. They're going to play some good defense. And they're going to manage the game, and they're going to be who they are. And that's why they're 8-3 on the season right now. Once again, Teddy Bridgewater did what was necessary of his team. Again, numbers are never going to be gaudy, but he's going to go out. He's going to run on 3rd and 4 when nothing's there and pick up 5. He's going to check it down and keep them in 3rd and manageable, keep them ahead of down in distance. And he's going to move the sticks. He's going to help them matriculate the ball down the field. He is exactly what this team needs. And to me, he's the new modern day Alex Smith, or you can just call him Black Alex Smith, whatever you like. That's who he is for this football team, and that's what he's going to be moving forward. But bad interception in the end zone, trying to find the tight end up the seam, picked off by Allen. Can't throw that ball. And it was a heck of a play by Ricardo Allen, but you still can't throw that football. That was not the coverage and not the look for that pass. And for this team, they just want points. They don't want mistakes, they want points. And he's pretty good at taking care of the football, but that was a bad mistake. But he's exactly what the doctor ordered for this Vikings football team. This defense is opportunistic. We saw it against the Raiders. You saw it again in this game. We've seen it all season long. You make a mistake, they make you pay for your mistake. Terrence Newman in the end zone. Bad decision by Matt Ryan to throw the football into a crowded end zone, and Terrence Newman makes him pay with an interception. Bad throw behind his receiver right before the half when they look like they're going to get some points. Captain Munnerlyn makes him pay, picks it off. Tevin Coleman, an explosive dynamic back, gets out in the open field and out in open space. Looks like he's about to run away. Anthony Barr catches him from behind and pokes it free. He's had a problem with holding on to the ball all season long. We'll talk more about Tevin Coleman and his struggles when we get to the Falcons, but extremely great play by Anthony Barr. The hustle on that play that was shown, the athleticism to run and catch a guy with that kind of speed from behind. It speaks volumes to what this team is defensively, and for them to recover that fumble after giving up a huge gain on the ground is what this team does. On 4th down, I told you they don't blitz often, but Matt Ryan looking to convert a 4th down late in the ball game. They come with a blitz, they hit him, force a fumble. Doesn't matter who recovers, it's fourth down. They end up getting a football, put the game away. And that's what this team is. They're an opportunistic team that knows who they are. They don't have identity crisis. They settle in, and once they get to play their brand of football, you are in trouble. Adrian, he's amazing, okay? And I want you to, again, this is one of those times where I have to lecture you because we're observing greatness. Okay, we might never see another running back like this again. And I hate to use the word never because with the way the athletes are coming down the pipeline now, they're getting bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. But Adrian Peterson is a one-of-a-kind back. And I don't know if I've ever seen, and I don't know if you've ever seen a physical specimen like this in your entire life. Okay, 6'2", about 230 pounds, runs a 4.3 40, runs guys over. The physicality that he runs with. In this game, there's a play where he goes off tackle to the right or to the left of the formation, gets to the outside, cuts it up, runs over one of the Falcons linebackers. I want to say, his name escapes me, number 55, I can't think of his name right now. Runs him slam over. I mean, literally, he's got one guy grabbing him on this side, and he lowers his shoulder, runs over the linebacker, and keeps going, picks up another 4 or 5 yards on the play. His physicality is ridiculous. His change of direction, jump, stop, cuts, that's outstanding and insane. And then the ability to just shift gears and go from gear 1 to 5 in about 2 steps is absolutely out of bounds. And that's why he's the best back you've probably ever seen in your life. And I just want you to take a step back and realize that you're witnessing greatness. And take it for what it is. And don't overlook him and say, oh, that's just Adrian Peterson. No, don't just say that's Adrian Peterson being Adrian Peterson. Make sure you witness and realize and acknowledge, and that's the most important part, greatness in front of you, because you may never see this again. This guy is outstanding. The #1 rush defense in the league, gets 158 yards put on their head, a couple of touchdowns on 29 carries. That's what Adrian Peterson brings to this Vikings football team. You go to the Falcons, their turnover and red zone woes continue. That's part of the reason why this team has lost 4 straight and 5 out of 6 is because they can't stop getting in their own way. They keep falling all over themselves, and it's the turnovers. It's Matt Ryan's poor play. It's them fumbling the football. It's them getting in the red zone and can't get in the end zone, having to settle for 3 or turning it over. I've never seen a team move it down the field and then self-destruct more so than this Falcons football team is. It is incredible the amount of times they've gotten over the 50-yard line, past the 40, into that other team's territory, deep into it, and then turn it over. I mean, they have the uncanny ability to move the football down the field and then for some inexplicable reason, turn it over, whether it's a fumbled snap, a fumble by the back, an interception, and a poor throwing decision by Matt Ryan. They're making bad mistakes in the red zone in this game. Teron Ward runs the football for a gain of about 4, gets tackled out of bounds, decides he wants to kick the defender because he doesn't like him tackling him out of bounds. That's a 15-yard penalty, blows up that whole possession. They get in the end zone on a pitch to Tevin Coleman. It looks like they tied the game up at 10. Instead, they got a holding penalty or a chop block on one of their illegal cut block on one of their backup tight ends that pushes them 15 yards back. Then they get a first down on a hands to the face penalty on the Vikings, and then Matt Ryan decides he wants to force it in the end zone and gets picked off by Terrence Newman. I mean, that sequence alone right there, to me, is a microcosm of this Falcons season. They get in the end zone, it's negated by a penalty, they get a first down after being backed up big in a goal-to-goal situation, they get new life, and Matt Ryan proceeds to throw an interception in the end zone to Terrence Newman. That is a Falcons season in a nutshell right now. Part of the reason why they can't. And Matt Ryan, let's talk about him quickly. He's not good right now. He hasn't been good this season, and I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know what the problem is. My whole thought process was he's trying to force it to Julio. Well, he didn't force it to Julio in this game, and he still made mistakes. I don't know what's wrong with Matt Ryan, but he needs to fix it quickly because this team is not going to make the postseason if he continues playing the type of football that he's been playing over the last month and a half or so. He's been horrible, and he was horrible again in this game. This defense deserves better. And if you haven't been watching the Falcons, you think, oh, this offense is playing ball, but the defense, no, this defense has taken on the identity of Dan Quinn. This is a good defense. They deserve better than what they've gotten from this Falcons offense. All the turnovers, all the mistakes, the 3 and outs. This offense hasn't done justice to this defense. They've been outstanding. They were good in this game, good enough to win, and the offense, once again, let them down. Julio Jones was a non-factor, but again, he wasn't the problem. He's a guy that you can force it to and he'll make plays, but I thought they needed to spread the football around. They needed to get Julio Jones more involved. They needed to get more from Hardy, and they needed to get more from these other receivers and tight ends on this football team. Well, they did that in this game, and it still didn't work. Matt Ryan still turned it over, and Tevin Coleman has to stop fumbling the football. And I know right now you don't have any other options. It looks like Devontae Freeman will be back next week, and you can't wait because this kid has an issue. And the young fellas in general in the league have had a problem with fumbling, whether it's him or Matt Jones for the Redskins. These young fellas have not done a good job of securing the football. And that was a hell of a play by Anthony Barr, but he has to keep the football. He's fumbled all season long, and it's been some costly ones, like against New Orleans and again in this game. Minnesota gets it done on the road 20-10, wins this football game, goes to 8-3 in the season, and seizes first place in the NFC North Division. Meanwhile, the Falcons lose for the 4th consecutive time. 5 out of 6 games they've lost, and they are reeling right now and barely hanging on and clinching to that final NFC wild card spot. But that's gone now. Seahawks have taken it from them, and deservingly so. This is not a good football team right now, and until they fix some things on the offensive side, mainly not turning the football over, they're going to continue their free fall and not make the postseason in the NFC. Look at New Orleans and the Houston Texans. This one is pretty easy to get to. Let's jump into the Saints quickly. The defense looked better under Dennis Allen, but they still were bad, okay? And, when I say better, preface it with this. They were the worst defense in the league by far, and so they weren't the worst on Sunday. They just were bad. So they still gave up 14 points right out of the gate. Texas had scored a first drive touchdown all season long. Well, they did it in this game. As a matter of fact, they scored on their first 2 possessions, and they ran away with the ball game. Offensively, the Saints are lost. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say this and we're going to move on because I don't want to spend a lot of time on a team that doesn't give a damn. This team is just going through the motions. Offensively, Drew Brees looks like, look, man, just hurry up, get this game over with. Sean Payton looks like he doesn't give a damn on the sidelines. And the players look like they don't give a damn. I watched this game, and they just looked like a team that was out there trying to get their paycheck and go home. It looked that simple. And so this team, the fight is gone, okay? Sean Payton's not going to be back. I don't know if Drew Brees is coming back. This situation in New Orleans looks really dire right now. And I think there are wholesale changes to be made in the offseason. If we thought last offseason for this team was bad, this offseason coming up is going to be even worse. We're not going to even know who these Saints are come next year. It's bad in New Orleans right now. You go to the Texans, they might not stand in football. Winners of 3 straight games. They've turned their season around. Great start to the game. I thought that was exactly what they needed to do. Take the Saints out of the game. Don't give them hope. This is a hopeless team. We'll make sure they remain hopeless. They jump out to a 14-0 lead. Took the Saints' heart with that start in the game, and they never had to look back because the Saints weren't coming for them in this game. Outstanding balance on the offensive side of football, and the defense continues to be dominant. J.J. Watt, it seemed like the Saints had never heard of J.J. Watt because they moved him around. Wherever 99 was, you needed to identify him and double team. Well, he got one-on-one matchups the entire game, and he won them on a consistent basis. He harassed Drew Brees on the day, sacked him a bunch of times, got in the backfield, made tackles for loss. Whatever he wanted to do, he did it in this game. And then Kareem Jackson's play on the goal line to really seal the deal on that interception was beautiful. The Texans were dominant on the defensive side of football. They dominated this game. Billy Ho showed you why he can lead this team to victory, but why he's still a backup quarterback in the same sense, because he did some really good things. There was one throw where I'm like, wow, to the tight end. He dropped it in the bucket. It was a gorgeous throw. But then he gets flustered, goes out of the pocket, is backpedaling, gets pressure on him, and throws a senseless interception to Jarius Byrd, which in the same sense I'm saying to myself, why did you do that? Okay, it's not illegal to throw the football away. Throw it away. You can live to play another play. Instead, he tries to force it, throws an interception, and that's why he's Billy Ho. But he got the job done, 24-6. Texans are tied for first place in the AFC South. They're playing outstanding football. This defense has come alive, and that's what I was waiting for all season long. They're here, they're playing good football, and now they're 6-5, and they're a team to be reckoned with in the AFC Conference. So you move on to St. Louis, traveling to Cincinnati, trying to get back on track. This game went exactly the way that I anticipated it going. That's why I made it my social survivor pick for week number 12. It was this simple. If the Cincinnati Bengals rush defense could shut down Todd Gurley, they were going to win this game and win it big. big. And that to me was the basis of this game and how the outcome was going to be decided, because the Rams passing offense has been putrid all season long. They benched Nicholas Foles last week in favor of Case Keenum. He gets injured and they lose him to a concussion. They have to reinsert Nicholas Foles. His confidence has to be somewhere down here at the bottom because of being benched. And so he has to come back in. He was terrible in this game once again. They took advantage of the ability of stopping the run. And once they were able to do that, the only answer the Rams had offensively was Tavon Austin. Well, can't run him forever. They did use him and get into the end zone one time on the day, but that was it. This team is getting frustrated, and you can tell Jeff Fisher's post-game presser, he's frustrated. You saw how annoyed he was at the questioning, and he's a guy that knows his time is near at the end in St. Louis. He's not going to be their coach. I don't think after this season is over. I think his time is done. And Nicholas Foles, he's terrible at the quarterback position. They came into the season with a quarterback dilemma. They're going to leave this season with a quarterback problem, and that's probably what they're going to have to draft this year in the first round. This offense is affecting the defense. This is a dominant defense. We've seen that. They made some plays in this game. They picked off Andy Dalton once, almost had another one. Bates with a great catch in the end zone, just couldn't get his foot down. And they forced a fumble. They still did some really dynamic things in this game, did the Rams defensively, but they're not the same defense because they're not getting any help from their offense. They're hopeless right now on the defensive side because the offense isn't getting anything done. So it's affecting this defense that's an elite defense when they get any kind of help, any semblance of help from their offense. And it's a shame because they've got so much defensive talent, but they're not being able to use it because they're not getting enough help from the offense. In the case of Cincinnati in this game, defensively, they're starting to figure it out. I thought they did a great job stopping the run and dominating them on that side of the football. I thought they went after Nicholas Foles, getting great production out of Carlos Dunlap. We know about Geno Atkins, and he's back. And they're starting to get comfortable with their linebackers roaming around, their secondary making plays. I think Drake Kirkpatrick has had an outstanding season. They're really starting to figure some things out defensively. Jeremy Hill looked like Jeremy Hill in this game, and that's a really sight for sore eyes for this Cincinnati Bengals football team, because if he can get going on the ground, you couple him with Giovanni Bernard, and all of a sudden that 1-2 tandem becomes one of the best in the league once again. They haven't been this season because Jeremy Hill hasn't held up his end of the bargain. Giovanni Bernard has been a stud this year, but Jeremy Hill has not. And he looked like the old Jeremy Hill, making jump cuts in the hole, being explosive, hitting holes with authority. He was outstanding in this game, and if they can get that from him moving forward, this team is going to be that much more dangerous on the offensive side of the football. Andy Dalton continues to give it and take it away. He made a bunch of great throws in this game. That throw to A.J. Green on that bang 8 backside for a touchdown, you can't do it any better than that. I mean, that's a stick throw in tight coverage. The look away on the touchdown to Tyler Eifert, to look him off, look the safety off, and then come back knowing exactly where he wanted to go with the football. That's cerebral. Andy Dalton is maturing mentally as a quarterback, but then he makes the foolish throws. He gets picked off by Janoris Jenkins on a bad throw. He gets picked off in the end zone. Luckily enough for him, the defender came down out of bounds, or else that would have been a pick in the end zone. You can't do that. He's still making bad mistakes, but did not hurt him in this game. He's got to clean that up. Cincinnati dominates this game 31-7. Thought they looked great in this game. They did what they were supposed to do to a bad football team at home. That's the mark of a good team. You destroy the lesser opponents at the crib. That's what they did, dismantling the Rams 31-7 and going to 9-2. And all but essentially wrapping up their division with that win, and the Steelers lost. They're going to win this division, and they're going to do it in the next week or two. Arizona at San Francisco. A lot of people thought this was going to be a laugher. I've said this all season long. The 49ers play better at home. And this is NFC West family business. Anytime it's family business, throw the records out the window. Teams are going to play one another tough, and that's what we got in this game. I thought the Cardinals continue to play opportunistic football. That they force turnovers, they get points off those turnovers. Early in the game, first 2 possessions, they forced 2 turnovers of the 49ers, get 6 points. They would have loved to turn them into touchdowns, but they didn't. But they still got field goals out of the deal, and that was, they won the game by 6. They got 6 points off of 2 49er turnovers. There you go right there. Too many penalties in this game. They need to clean that up There was a game earlier in the season where Bruce Arians went nuts because they had a bunch of penalties. Well, they had a bunch of penalties in this game. They got to clean up the penalties, because if there's one thing that's going to slow this team down outside of turnovers, which they don't have a huge problem with, but every now and again Carson Palmer can get really sloppy with the football, it's going to be penalties. And they got to stop shooting themselves in the foot. They had a bunch of penalties in this game that helped the 49ers out and kept this game at arm's reach. Carson Palmer and this Cardinals offense is the best vertical deep threat offense in the league, and it's not even close. These guys drive it down the field more than any other team, and I think the Steelers are not too far behind, but these Cardinals are exceptional when it comes to the deep ball passing game. And the reason why they're so uncanny in that regard is because they have so many weapons. Everyone at receiver can beat you deep, and that includes old man Larry Fitzgerald. Michael Floyd can get you deep. J.J. Nelson can get you deep. Sheriff John Brown can get you deep. If they need to, they can go in their bag of tricks and go pull out Jerron Brown and let him beat you deep. They've got a number of targets, and Carson Palmer is not afraid to throw it to any single one of them down the field, and they can beat you deep and make some plays. And they'll go up and attack the football as well. Palmer's not afraid to give them a chance to win in one-on-one coverage, in double coverage. And so sometimes it gets him in trouble and he throws interceptions. He's not afraid to give his receivers a chance to win, and they don't shy away from taking shots. And they took a bunch of them in this game, and a couple of them turned out to be big plays that helped them win this game. Their defense was outstanding in this game. They held the 49ers to no third down conversions, 0 for 10 and 0 for in the game by the 49ers because of this Cardinals defense and their aggressive nature, not allowing them to pick up a single third down in this game. That is how you get it done against a team that's struggling on the offensive side of the football. You go to the 49ers in this game. I talked about it already. They play better at home. You saw the game. Their defense, for some inexplicable reason, they just play better at home. Bruce Ellington and Blaine Gabbert turn it over in consecutive possessions. Bruce Ellington fumbles and muffs a punt, and it's turned into a field goal, and then Blaine Gabbert is picked off by the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, and that turns into a field goal. So again, when you're not a good enough team to make those mistakes and overcome them, can't have them, and the 49ers had some big crucial mistakes early on that put 6 points on the scoreboard for the Cardinals, and they end up losing this game by 6 points. And then Tremaine Brock, on that second turnover, interception by Blaine Gabbert, had a chance to take 3 points off the scoreboard. Carson Palmer inexplicably throws him what amounts to a punt in the end zone, and for some reason he doesn't catch the football. It's one of the worst drops you'll see all season long. It doesn't get much easier than this, and that cost them. They lose the game by 6. You say to yourself, at the end of this game, you might only need a field goal if you catch this. Instead, he drops it, and they turn into a Cardinals field goal. And so that's what bad teams do. They don't take advantage of opportunities, and that's what you saw there. Blaine Gabbert played well enough for this team to win this game, but he took some ill-advised sacks, pushed the 49ers out of field goal range a couple of times, and he had the turnover. And so even though you're a team, they had some untimely penalties in this game as well. Even though they did everything they could to try to win this game, they still made the type of mistakes that bad football teams make. And so your end result is 19-13. The Cardinals go on the road, get it done. It wasn't pretty, doesn't matter. It's a win. They're now 9-2 on the season, and they look like they're poised to wrap this division up here in the next couple of weeks. We'll see what happens with Seattle, and if they can continue to win. If they do, this division will be over in a matter of weeks. New England at Denver, the best game of the weekend, and it was a lot of fun, and I thought it would be exactly what it was. Did I know it was going to be an epic classic? No, I didn't, but I thought it was going to be a good game, and I thought the Broncos could win. Let's talk about New England in this game. Good start for New England despite the injuries. They jump out to a 14-0 lead. Gronk gets a touchdown. The defense bats the ball up in the air, picks it off. That turns into a touchdown. I thought they came out with the aggressive mindset that they needed to try to win this game. But the injuries are really beginning to take their toll. They lose down to Hightower in this game to an injury. They were already without Jamie Collins. They were already banged up on the offensive side. We don't even need to talk about all the injuries on the offensive side of football. We'll go ahead and add Rob Gronkowski to that list. They were already without their top 3 pass catchers on the offensive side of the football. Then you add in Gronk, and now who's Brady throwing the football to? It was amazing that they were even up in this game with all of the injuries. They lose Gronk in the 4th quarter, and you can really see that starting to take its toll as well. Huge muff punt. I thought the muff punt was the turning point in the game. They were up 21-7. They were in firm control of this game. The Broncos hadn't done much of anything offensively. I thought the defense was doing an outstanding job of getting off the field on third downs. And then Chris Harper muffs the punt, recovered by the Broncos. They go down the field, they get a touchdown. And from that point on, I thought the game and the complexity of it changed. And Chris Harper has since then been released by the New England Patriots. You know they don't mess around. Bill Belichick, he don't play no games. Okay, you make that kind of mistake and this magnitude of a ball game, you're out of here. Especially if you're a replaceable player. And Chris Harper, first game up, all the injuries, got an opportunity, didn't take advantage. Now he's going to have to look for work elsewhere. Holding penalty on Patrick Chung on that final possession, a little sketchy of regulation, a little sketchy. Okay, after they had sacked Brock Osweiler and had them in a really precarious situation. To get the holding penalty gives them new life and a fresh set of downs, and we all know what happens after that back shoulder fade to Bubba Caldwell to tie this ball game, or excuse me, give them the lead at 24 to 21. So, big play in the game. I don't know if I agree with the holding call or not, but there were some really sketchy calls. But that's been the nature of the league all season long. A lot of bad calls by officials, a lot of questionable calls. And so add that one to the list of calls that have impacted games this season. But Brady, as he always does, takes his team down the field, ties the ball game up, sends it to overtime. But the Denver Broncos defense steps up. Speaking of the Broncos, let's jump onto their side of things. And Brock Osweiler was shaky early. They weren't converting third downs. He took some really bad sacks. And it's a product of a young quarterback getting his feet wet, gonna make some mistakes, gonna take some sack that he shouldn't, could have threw the football away, had the ball batted in the air and picked off. They talked about his trajectory of his throws and how they go downward. Well, that's why one of his passes was batted into the air and picked off, but he settled in. The running game, I thought, was what got them on track. They started to have some success running the football. And with all the injuries to the Patriots, you knew this was going to happen. It was only a matter of time before they started getting lanes, and those lanes started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the Broncos started taking advantage. And then Brock Osweiler was able to take a breath, settle in, and realize, I don't have to do this by myself. I've got a run game. I can settle in, play good football, and that's what he did moving forward. I thought the running game started to click late in the first half, and they got that touchdown, and it really started to jumpstart the offense. The Broncos had to play through all of the injuries. We talked about the Patriots and all their injuries. Well, the Broncos had to play through some injuries, okay? They lose Manny Ramirez, their guard in this game. They also lose T.J. Ward, their safety. And they also lose Sylvester Williams, their big, hulking nose tackle in this game. So they dealt with injuries. They already came into the game with some injuries like DeMarcus Ware being out. So they're a team that's banged up. We know about Peyton Manning being hurt. So look, Patriots aren't the only ones dealing with injuries. Broncos dealt with them too. So both of them had to really try to push through injuries, and I thought the Broncos did that as well. The team hung in. And look, this is the bottom line in this game. They hung in, took advantage of some miscues by the Patriots, that fumble by Chris Harper. Took advantage of some miscues, all right? Officials made some bad calls, maybe here or there. They had some injuries. They powered through them. They won the football game. And the running game was a huge catalyst. But when they needed some plays, Brock Osweiler stepped up on that final drive of regulation, hit Demaryius Thomas, who had a poor game on a deep ball, hit Emmanuel Sanders on a deep ball, E-Man Sand coming up big, down to about the 1 or 2 yard line, and then we all know about the back shoulder touchdown to Bubba Caldwell. So I thought he stepped up when he had to be the guy for the Broncos. He stepped up and was the guy, made some big time throws, and helped them get this game to overtime. They thought they was going to win the game in regulation. You know, Brady does his thing, takes him down the field. Gostowski does not miss, and they go to overtime. And then the defense stepped up, got a sack of Brady, put them in a really bad down and distance situation with no targets. They're not going to pick that up. And so they had to punt the football. Broncos get great field position, and the run game took over. And then C.J. Anderson with the big 37-yard touchdown run to put this game away. Broncos get it done 30-24 in overtime. Hand the Patriots their first loss of the season at 10-1. Broncos are now a team that could seize home field throughout in the AFC if they continue to play hot football and some things fall their way. They still got Cincinnati coming down the pipeline. And so now the Denver Broncos go to 9-2 on the season, and they're right there in the thick of things in the AFC race for the #1 seed, because they beat the Patriots now on that head-to-head tiebreaker. They play Cincinnati later on in the season. They have a lot to play for, and they hold and control a lot of what's going to happen in the AFC landscape in terms of the #1 spot in that playoff picture. And finally, Monday Night Football, what seemed like it was going to be a dud. Two teams going nowhere fast in the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Turned out to be a really fascinating ball game. If you stuck around, if you didn't, I don't blame you. It was Josh McCown versus Matt Schaub. I don't blame you if you didn't stick around, but if you didn't, you missed a pretty good ball game. And again, I'm a football fiend, so I'm gonna watch regardless. And it turned out to be a really good watch. Matt Schaub did what it is he does. Actually had a solid game, but he had 2 costly turnovers. He does what it is he does. He threw a pick 6, which is why he was ousted from Houston and ran out of Oakland so fast. And he threw a late interception that should have cost him the ball game. I thought the Browns had horrible clock management when they had to bring Austin Davis in the game. And I thought he actually came in and electrified after going 3, and he came in a tough spot, 3rd and 9, after McCown came in, tried to power through a collarbone injury, and he's out for the season now. And so he tried to power through that, threw a pass to the outside, realized I can't do this. They bring in Austin Davis with a 3rd and 9 situation, incomplete the pass, they boo him off the field. And then he comes in and he hits Travis Benjamin for a deep ball touchdown to tie the ball game up. And I thought he was really good on that final drive, but the clock management was poor. You got 2 timeouts. There's no reason to put yourself in a position where you're racing against the clock. You had ample opportunities to call a timeout, to set up a play, to get closer for the field goal. Your field goal kicker, his career long is like 47. You don't want to put him in a situation where he's got to kick a 51 or 54-yard field goal. Better clock management would have given you an opportunity to get much closer. And that's not on the quarterback. He's a young guy, he didn't know better. That's on the coaching staff. Mike Patton's got to call timeout there. He's got to know that we have to manage the clock. This kid can't do it. We can't ask him to do that. So it was just poor clock management on their part. They really put themselves in a bad spot and allowed the Ravens to have an opportunity to block the field goal because the trajectory had to be lower because it was a far further kick and he wanted to be able to get the distance on it. And it got blocked by one of their linemen. I want to say it was Urban, and scooped up by Will Hill. He takes off down the sidelines, gets a convoy of blockers, and it turned into a kick 6, a walk-off kick 6, or a play you rarely see in the National Football League. Ravens win the game 33-27. And I talked about John Fox about a month ago about him needing to be in the discussion for Coach of the Year. Well, John Harbaugh doesn't need to be in the discussion, but you just need to know that he's doing an outstanding job. This is not a talented Ravens football team. They're decimated at multiple positions with injuries, and yet every week they're in ball games. This game no different. Just like last week, they're in a crazy ball game and find a way to get it done. And it was not pretty, but they found a way to win with their backup quarterback, 33-27. Not saying that they played the toughest, stiffest competition, but they found a way to get it done. And now they're 4-7 on the season. And look, that's not a good team in the Ravens, but they're well coached, so they're going to be in ball games. And you have to give them a lot of credit. With the Browns, they're a train wreck. It's a mess in Cleveland once again, and we find ourselves saying that every single year. And it's just so hard to stomach because I feel for Browns fans, I really do. Because every year, it's a different year, new hope, same story, and it's just so, and that game to me epitomizes why that stadium is the factory of sadness, right there. They're on a collision course for the #1 pick in the 2016 NFL Draft. That'll do it for me here in the lab room. Hurry up, If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Hurry, 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 up, offense. See you next time.
There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter @InTheLabRoom, or you can like the Facebook page @InTheLabRoom. That's In the Lab Room on Facebook and @InTheLabRoom on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.